The grand hall of the Varian Palace shone with lights from 1,000 stars. Tall windows let in the glow of 3 moons. The room was filled with beings from 50 different worlds. Some had scales, some had fur, and others had skin that changed colors. At the center of it all sat Empress Gia. Her silver skin caught the light as she moved. The crown on her head held gems from 20 planets. She looked down at the crowd with 6 dark eyes that missed nothing. "Let the monthly meeting begin," she said. Her voice was soft, but reached every corner of the room. The beings took their seats at the round table. Each seat showed the symbol of a different world. One seat, marked with a blue and green ball, had been empty for 200 years. Dojin, the royal historian, stood up. He was old even by Varian standards. His skin had faded to a pale blue, and he walked with a slight limp. "Today marks 500 years since the founding of our Galactic Confederation," Dojin said. "We have much to celebrate. Trade routes are safe. Our knowledge grows each day. But we must also remember those who are not with us." The room grew quiet. Everyone knew what was coming. 200 years ago, we lost the humans," Dojin continued. "They were a young species, just beginning to explore beyond their world. They had not yet joined our confederation, but they showed great promise. Holo images appeared above the table. They showed a blue planet with white clouds, then cities with tall buildings, then images of humans themselves, beings with 2 eyes, flat faces, and hair on their heads. They were different from us in many ways," said Dojin. "They had short lives. They were physically weak compared to many species. But they had something special. They were curious. They were creative. They solved problems in ways no one expected." More images showed humans building ships, making art, and exploring their own world. "We had just made contact with them when the Great Collapse happened," Dojin said, his voice growing sad. "Their development of power sources went wrong. Their planet systems failed. In less than 1 year, their civilization fell. Their atmosphere became toxic. By the time we sent ships to help, it was too late. The images changed to show a planet covered in dark clouds, then barren land with no life. We searched for survivors," Dojin said. "We found none. All research stations, all colonies they had begun on their moon and nearby planets, all silent, all empty." Empress Gia nodded slowly. "The humans serve as a reminder to us all. Technology without wisdom leads to destruction." From the back of the room, a young diplomat named Sung spoke up. "But there are stories, yes, stories of human ships that escaped, that humans might still exist somewhere." Dojin smiled kindly at the young Varian. "There are always such stories after a tragedy. For 50 years after the collapse, our ships checked every report of human sightings. We found nothing. Some say humans were seen in the outer rim. Others claim they built hidden bases beyond our maps. These are just stories. The evidence is clear. Humans are extinct." Security Chief Hyun, a tall figure with red markings on his silver skin, added, "The last confirmed human signal was received 198 years ago. It was a distress call from their last known colony. When our ships arrived, they found only ruins." Empress Gia raised her hand, ending the discussion. "We honor the memory of humanity by learning from their mistakes. Their seat remains at our table as a sign of respect for what might have been." The meeting moved on to other matters: trade routes, border disputes, new discoveries. None of them knew that far away, at the edge of their sensors, a small ship was moving toward them. Inside it was something impossible. A human was coming. 3 days after the monthly meeting, the palace was busy again. Empress Gia sat on her throne, watching as leaders from 5 new worlds came to sign trade agreements. The ceremony was an old one, performed hundreds of times before. The Varian royal guard stood tall along the walls. Their silver armor gleamed in the light of the great hall. Security Chief Hyun watched from his post near the Empress. His red-marked face showed no emotion, but his eyes missed nothing. The Galactic Confederation welcomes the worlds of the Traz system, announced the court speaker. May our shared future bring peace and growth to all. The 5 leaders, small beings with purple skin and 4 arms each, bowed low. Empress Gia nodded back, her 6 eyes blinking in the pattern that showed respect in Varian culture. Just as the first leader stepped forward with the signing tool, a loud alarm sounded. Red lights flashed across the ceiling. Guards moved quickly, surrounding the Empress and the visitors. "What is happening?" Empress Gia demanded, rising from her throne. Security Chief Hyun pressed his hand to the communication device in his ear. His eyes widened. "Something has entered the palace," he said. It passed through the outer shields without triggering them. It moved through 3 security doors without opening them. "A ghost?" asked one of the purple visitors, fear in his voice. "We do not believe in ghosts," said Hyun firmly. "Only in things we have not explained yet." A guard ran into the room. "Chief Hyun, the intruder is heading this way." Our weapons had no effect. Hyun turned to the Empress. "We must move you to safety." "No," said Empress Jia. "If this is a threat to our people, I will face it here." The great doors to the throne room shook. Guards pointed their energy weapons at the entrance. A strange sound came from beyond the doors, something between a hum and a whistle. The doors, made of metal from the core of an ancient moon, began to glow at the edges. Then they opened. A figure stood in the doorway. It was not very tall, maybe the height of a young Varian. It wore some kind of suit that covered its entire body. The suit was dark gray with lines of blue light running across it. A helmet hid its face, showing only a black surface that reflected the room back at them. "Stop where you are," shouted Hyun. "Identify yourself." The figure took 3 steps forward. The guard's weapons followed its movement. The room was so quiet that everyone could hear the soft hum coming from the suit. "I come in peace," said the figure. Its voice sounded strange through whatever system it used to speak. "I wish to talk with Empress Gia of the Galactic Confederation." "No one speaks to the Empress without proper clearance," said Hyun. "Remove your helmet and state your world of origin." The figure stood still for a moment. Then it slowly raised its hands to its helmet. With a soft click and a hiss of air, the helmet separated from the suit. The figure lifted it off. Gasps filled the room. Even Empress Gia could not hide her shock. The face was unlike any in the room. It had a flat nose, 2 eyes, only 2, and skin that was a light brown color. Short black hair covered the top of its head. It had no scales, no silver skin, no extra eyes. It looked exactly like the images Dojin had shown them 3 days ago. It was a human. "My name is Captain Ta," said the human. "I've come a very long way to speak with you." Hyun found his voice first. "Impossible. Humans are extinct." The human named Ta smiled. It was an expression many in the room had never seen before except in old records. "That," said Ta, "is the first thing we need to talk about." The throne room was completely silent. All eyes were on Captain Ta, the human who could not possibly exist. Empress Gia recovered first. She raised her hand, stopping Hyun from speaking again. "The 5 leaders from the Traz system will be escorted to the waiting rooms," she said. "This meeting must be delayed." Once the purple-skinned visitors had left, Gia spoke directly to the human. 200 years of records say your kind is gone," she said. "Explain yourself." Tai placed his helmet on the floor beside him. He looked tired, but his eyes were alert. "The story you know is not the whole truth," he said. "Humans did not die out. We went into hiding." "Hiding?" Hyun's voice showed his disbelief. "From what?" "From whoever tried to kill us all," Tai answered simply. A wave of whispers moved through the room. Empress Gia silenced them with a look. "Are you saying the Great Collapse was not an accident?" she asked. "The Great Collapse, as you call it, was an attack," said Ta. "Someone or something sent destructive signals to all our power systems at once. Our cities failed. Our ships crashed. Our colonies lost contact with each other." Ta walked forward, stopping at a respectful distance from the throne. No one tried to stop him. But humans are good at one thing above all others, he continued: surviving. Some of our best scientists had feared such an attack might come. They built hidden bases that used old technology so simple it could not be affected by the attack. And you survived there? Asked Jia. Yes, deep underground, on lifeless moons, hidden in asteroid belts. Only a few thousand at first. We had to be careful. We had to stay hidden. For 200 years. Hyun sounded unconvinced. Why not contact the Confederation? Ta looked at him with steady eyes. Because we didn't know who had attacked us. It could have been anyone, even the Confederation. The room erupted in angry voices. Empress Jia had to stand to restore order. That is a serious claim, she said, her voice cold. It is not an accusation, Tae replied calmly. It is why we stayed hidden. We were few, we were weak, and we did not know who our enemy was. An old Varian stepped forward from the crowd. It was Dojun, the royal historian. If what you say is true, then human civilization has been rebuilding in secret for 2 centuries, he said. Why reveal yourselves now? Captain Tae's face grew more serious. Because there is a new threat coming. A threat to all life in this galaxy. We've been watching it grow for 20 years. Now it's almost here. What kind of threat? Asked Empress Jia. We call it the Void, said Ta. It's a force, a thing that eats light and matter. It's already destroyed 3 star systems beyond your maps. He touched a device on his wrist. A hologram appeared in the air, showing a dark mass moving through space, swallowing stars as it went. This recording was taken 30 days ago, Ta said. The Void is moving toward Confederation space. It will reach the outer worlds in less than 2 years. If this is true, why would you help us? Asked Hyun. You just said we might have been your attackers. Ta smiled slightly. Because that's another thing humans are good at. Forgetting old hurts when new dangers come, and because we've learned something in our years of hiding. What is that? Asked Empress Jia. That no species survives alone, said Ta. The Void doesn't care what planet you come from. It will consume us all unless we stand together. He looked around the room at the many different beings watching him. Humans have built ships and weapons that might help against the Void. We offer them to the Confederation. All we ask is a place at your table again. Empress Jia stared at the human for a long moment. Your story requires proof, she said at last. Proof. Captain Tae repeated. I stand before you. Is that not proof enough? A new voice joined the conversation. It is not. The crowd parted as a small figure walked forward. She had the silver skin of the Varians, but hers was marked with blue patterns instead of red. She wore a white coat with many pockets full of tools. This is Yuna, our court scientist, said Empress Jia. Yuna circled Tai, looking him up and down. You appear human, yes, but there are many ways to fake appearances. You could be a robot with artificial skin. You could be another species using body-changing technology. What proof would satisfy you? Asked Ta. DNA, said Yuna firmly. Genetic material. If you are human, your genetic code will match our records. Ta nodded. That's fair. Take what samples you need. Yuna pulled a small device from one of her pockets. This will take a tiny bit of skin. It will sting for a moment. She pressed the device against Ta's hand. It made a soft, buzzing sound. Ta didn't flinch. Yuna looked at the readings on her device. Her eyes widened. The basic pattern matches old human records, she admitted. But there are differences I cannot explain. 200 years of living in space will change a species, said Ta. We had to adapt. Security Chief Ken stepped forward. DNA can be faked too. Tell us something only a human would know, something not in our records. An old Varian with a limp moved to stand beside the Empress. It was Quan, her oldest advisor. He rarely spoke at public meetings. If you are human, said Quan in a creaky voice, then say something in the human language called English. Ta smiled. He spoke words no one in the room understood except Quan. The old advisor's eyes widened. That is English, he confirmed. The accent is strange, but it is English. What did he say? Asked Empress Jia. He said, from the ashes, humanity rises again, Quan translated. Hyun was not convinced. Anyone could learn a few words of an old language. Ta looked at him directly. You want more proof? Very well. He touched his wrist device again. My ship is in orbit around your fourth moon. Your sensors cannot see it because it uses technology you don't have. I can make it visible. A large screen on the wall of the throne room showed a view of space. One of the system's moons was visible. As they watched, something shimmered into view beside it. A ship. It was like no ship they had ever seen. It had no visible engines. Its surface seemed to shift and change, like water reflecting light. That design is impossible, whispered Yuma. How does it move without thrust points? Your science says it's impossible, corrected Ta. Human science went in different directions during our isolation. He touched his device again. A beam of light shot from the ship to the surface of the moon. Where it touched, the ground changed color, from gray to blue. What are you doing? Demanded Hyun. Proving I'm human, said Ta. That beam is planting fast-growing algae. It will spread across the moon's surface in 1 hour. It will make air. In 1 day, simple plants will grow. In 1 week, that dead moon could support life. The room was silent again. Even Hyun had no response. Only humans would think to change a whole moon just to prove a point, said Dojin, the royal historian, with something like awe in his voice. Captain Tai turned back to Empress Jia. I have one more piece of proof. Something that will remove all doubt. He paused. I know what really happened during the Battle of Seren 5. I know the secret the Confederation has kept for 300 years. Empress Jia's 6 eyes all blinked at once, a sign of shock and variance. How could you know about that? She whispered. Because humans were watching, said Ta. We've always been watching. Empress Jia dismissed everyone from the throne room except for her closest advisors. Only Han, Yuma, Dojin, Quan, and a few senior guards remained with Captain Ta. Speak freely now, said the Empress to Ta. Tell us about this threat you call the Void. Ta nodded. He placed a small round device on the floor. It projected a large detailed map of the galaxy. Most of the stars were familiar to the Varians, but at the edges were systems they had never mapped. Humans have explored farther than the Confederation knows, said Ta. We had to find places to hide, to rebuild. We went beyond your maps. He pointed to an area at the far edge of the map. 3 months ago, our outpost here went silent. We sent ships to check. They found nothing. Not a destroyed base. Not floating debris. Nothing at all. The entire system was empty of matter. Tay touched his device again. The map zoomed in to show a dark, moving shape. It was like a hole in space itself. 2 weeks later, our sensors picked this up. It moves slowly but steadily. It absorbs everything it touches. Light, matter, energy. Even gravity itself. What is it? Asked Yuna, leaning closer to the map. We don't know exactly, said Ta. Some think it's a living thing from between galaxies. Others think it's a weapon made by some ancient civilization. All we know is that it's coming this way. He moved his hand across the map. The dark shape's path extended forward, cutting through dozens of star systems. At its current speed, it will reach the edge of Confederation space in 22 months, said Ta. First in its path is the Mira system. Mira has 4 billion people, said Dojin quietly. Can it be stopped? Asked Empress Jia. We don't know, said Ta honestly. We've tried sending probes into it. They disappear. We've tried firing energy weapons at it. The energy is absorbed, but we've developed some theories and some possible weapons. He touched his device one more time. The map changed to show various ship designs. Humans have built a fleet, said Ta. Not large by your standards, about 200 ships. But they use technology very different from yours. We think some of it might affect the void. If your ships are so advanced, why not fight this thing yourselves? Asked Hyun, still suspicious. Ta looked at him directly. 2 reasons. First, we aren't sure we can win alone. The void is massive and growing. Second, even if we could stop it, it would reveal our existence to the whole galaxy. We'd be exposed. Yet here you are, exposing yourself to us, said Empress Jia. Tae's face showed a sad smile. Because we had no choice. The void must be stopped, and humans are tired of hiding. Quan, the old advisor, spoke up. There is something you're not telling us. Tai was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. The void is not natural. It's drawn to civilization, to technology. The more advanced the society, the more it seems to be attracted. And the Confederation is the most advanced society in this part of the galaxy. You're saying it's coming for us specifically? Asked Yuna. Yes, said Ta. And it's not the first time something like this has happened. We found records in our oldest archives, stories about similar events thousands of years ago. Entire civilizations vanishing. If what you're saying is true, said Empress Jia, then this threatens everyone. It does, agreed Ta. That's why I'm here. Humans want to rejoin the galactic community. We want to help fight this thing. But we need the Confederation's resources, your fleet, your worlds as bases. And if we refuse? Asked Hyun. Tae's face grew very serious. Then we will fight alone, and likely fail. And the void will come for you next, with nothing standing in its way. The throne room was silent as everyone looked at the dark shape on the map, slowly moving toward them. 3 days after Captain Tae's arrival, Empress Jia called an emergency meeting of the full Confederation Council. Representatives from all 57 member worlds gathered in the Great Hall. The room buzzed with whispers. News of the human visitor had spread quickly. Empress Jia sat on her throne. Captain Ta stood to her right, still wearing his strange suit but without the helmet. Members of the council, began the Empress. What I am about to tell you will be hard to believe, but it is true. Humans are not extinct. The room erupted in noise. Some representatives shouted questions. Others argued with each other. A few simply stared at Ta in disbelief. Empress Jia raised her hand for silence. Captain Ta has come to warn us of a grave danger approaching our space. The threat called the void that destroys entire star systems. He offers an alliance between humans and the Confederation to fight this enemy. The leader of the Zith, a reptile-like species, stood up. How do we know this void is real? How do we know this isn't some human trick? The evidence has been shared with your science teams, said Jia. Court scientist Yuna has confirmed the data. Even if this threat is real, said another representative, a floating ball of blue gas, why should we trust humans? If they've been hiding for 200 years, watching us in secret, what else are they hiding? Captain Ta stepped forward. Your suspicion is fair. In your place, I would feel the same. But the void is coming whether you trust us or not. It will be here in less than 2 years. We must prepare now. The young diplomat named Sung had been listening quietly. Now he spoke up. I've been studying the old records since Captain Tai arrived. There are problems with our history of the Great Collapse. The room went quiet. Sung looked nervous but continued. Some files are missing. Others seem to have been changed. I found a sealed record that mentions Varian ships near Earth just before the collapse began. All eyes turned to Empress Jia. She looked troubled. Is this true? Asked the representative from Mira, the system first in the void's path. I don't know, said Jia honestly. These events happened long before my time. But I have ordered a full investigation. Captain Te's face showed no surprise. We've suspected for generations that the attack on humanity might have come from within the Confederation. possibly from the Varians themselves. Gasps filled the room. Security Chief Hen stepped forward angrily. "You accuse us, yet you come asking for our help," he demanded. "Yes," said Tai simply. "Because whatever happened 200 years ago doesn't matter now. The void doesn't care about our old fights. It will consume us all." "If you believed we attacked humanity," said Empress Jia, "why come to us first? Why not go to other species?" "Because Varians are logical," said Ta. "Because your empire is at the center of the Confederation. Because if anyone can unite all worlds against this threat, it's you." He paused. "And because if you were behind the attack on humanity, you should have the first chance to make it right." The room was silent. The representatives looked at each other, at the Empress, at the human. Slowly, Empress Jia stood from her throne. "I cannot speak for those who ruled before me, but I can speak for Varians today. If my ancestors committed such a crime against humanity, I am deeply sorry, and I will do everything in my power to make it right." She turned to face the council. "I propose a formal alliance with humanity. I propose we join forces against the void." All in favor. One by one, the representatives stood, not all at once. Some quickly, some slowly. The Zith leader was among the last. But in the end, all 57 stood. Empress Jia turned to Captain Ta. "The Confederation accepts your offer of alliance." For the first time since his arrival, Ta smiled fully. "Thank you, Empress. Now the real work begins." 1 week after the alliance was formed, a small Confederation ship flew through space far beyond the known maps. On board were Sung the young diplomat, Yumna the court scientist, and Security Chief Hyun. Captain Ta stood by the front window, guiding the pilot. "How much farther?" asked Hyun. He still did not fully trust the human. "We're almost there," said Ta. "Our main colony isn't easy to find. That's how we've stayed hidden for so long." They passed through a dense cloud of space dust. When they came out the other side, everyone except Ta gasped. In front of them was a massive structure. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a space station like any they had seen. It was like someone had taken pieces of 20 different worlds and stuck them together. Some sections were made of metal and glass. Others looked like parts of natural planets, forests, lakes, and mountains somehow attached to the metal parts. Hundreds of ships moved around it, all different shapes and sizes. "Welcome to New Earth," said Ta with pride in his voice. "This is impossible," whispered Yuna. "How did you build this?" "One piece at a time," Ta answered. "When we fled Earth, we took everything we could carry. Then we found asteroids and small moons with the materials we needed. Over 200 years, we built ourselves a new home." Their ship flew closer. They could see people moving inside the glass sections, humans of all sizes and colors. They looked both similar to and different from the old images in the Confederation records. "How many of you are there?" asked Sung in wonder. "About 12 million now," said Ta. "We started with just a few thousand survivors." 12 million, repeated Hyun. "A very small number for a species." "Small, but enough," said Ta. "We're good at starting over." Their ship landed in a large bay. When they stepped out, a group of humans waited for them. At the front was a tall woman with dark skin and short white hair. "This is Admiral Jin," Tai introduced her. "She leads our fleet." Admiral Jin bowed slightly to the visitors. "Welcome to New Earth. You are the first non-humans to set foot here in 2 centuries." She led them through wide hallways. The walls were covered with pictures and writing. Some showed Earth as it had been. Others showed humans building their new home. "We keep our history where everyone can see it," explained Jin. "So we never forget where we came from." They entered a large round room with a glass ceiling. Stars shone above them. In the center of the room was a table with a map like the one Ta had shown them, but much bigger. "This is our command center," said Jin. "From here, we track the void and plan our defense." Yuna moved close to the map, studying it with scientific curiosity. Your technology is unlike anything in the Confederation. We had to develop new ways to survive, said Jin. When you're hiding, you can't follow normal paths of progress. Sung noticed something on the map. These are Confederation supply routes. Trade paths. How do you know these things? Jin and Tae exchanged looks. We've been helping you for years, Jin said finally, without you knowing. What do you mean? Asked Hyun sharply. The famine on Mira 15 years ago, said Jin. The medicine that mysteriously arrived when all seemed lost. That was us. The rescue ships that found the lost children of Zith when their school ship went missing. Us again. Why would you help us in secret? Asked Sung. Because we were human, said Tai simply. And that's what humans do. Jin led them to another area. Through a large window, they saw a massive space filled with ships. Not hundreds. Thousands. You said you had 200 ships, said Hyun, his voice tight with shock. I said we had 200 ships ready to fight the void, corrected Ta. This is our full fleet. We've been building it for generations, hoping we'd never need to use it. Why show us this now? Asked Sung. Because you need to understand, said Admiral Jin. Humans don't want to conquer. We don't want revenge. We want to live in peace. But first, we all need to survive. 1 month later, the combined fleets of humanity and the Confederation gathered at the edge of the Mira system. Over 5,000 ships formed a line in space, waiting. The void was coming. On the command ship, Captain Ta stood with Security Chief Hyun. They watched the main screen showing the dark shape moving toward them. It was much bigger now. Are your people ready? Asked Hyun. As ready as we can be, answered Ta. No one has ever fought the void before. We don't know exactly what will happen. Admiral Jin's voice came through the speakers. All ships in position. The void will reach our line in 10 minutes. Empress Jia herself had come to witness the battle. She sat in a special chair on the bridge. Captain Tai, explain once more how your weapons will work. Todd pointed to the human ships at the front of the formation. They were smaller than the Confederation ships, but glowed with strange blue lights. The void absorbs energy and matter, he said. So we created weapons that don't use either one. Our main cannons fire. It's hard to explain in simple terms. Think of them as holes in reality. They don't destroy the void. They'd redirect it. Redirect it where? Asked Yuna, who had also come to observe. Into empty space, far from any stars or planets, said Ta. At least, that's the plan. The bridge fell silent as they watched the void approach. It moved like a living thing, with parts reaching out and pulling back. 5 minutes, announced Admiral Jin. Tae turned to Hyun. I need to join my strike team. If the main plan fails, we have a backup. But it's dangerous. Hyun looked at the human for a long moment. Then he said, I'm coming with you. Ta seemed surprised. It's a human ship. The controls. I've been training in your simulators, said Hyun. I can help. Ta nodded. They left the bridge together and ran to a small shuttle. It took them to a human ship unlike the others. It was small and very fast. Inside, 10 humans were preparing for battle. They wore suits like Ta's but with more equipment attached. This is Security Chief Hyun, Ta told them. He's joining us. A human woman handed Hyun a suit. Put this on. It will let you connect to the ship. Connect? Asked Hyun. Human technology is different from yours, explained Ta as he put on his own suit. We don't just drive our ships. We join with them. We feel what they feel. On the main command ship, Empress Jia and Yuna watched as the void reached the fleet. The human ships fired their strange weapons. Where the blue beams hit the void, parts of it seemed to fold in on themselves and disappear. It's working, said Yuna. But then the void changed. It split into many smaller pieces. Some continued to vanish when hit by the human weapons, but others moved differently, avoiding the beams. It's adapting, said Empress Jia quietly. The small pieces of the void reached the first line of ships. When they touched a ship, it simply disappeared. No explosion, no debris, just gone. "The main plan is failing," said Admiral Jin through the speakers, deploying Plan B. On the small human ship, Ta, Hyun, and the others were connected to their vessel through their suits. Hyun had never felt anything like it. He could feel the ship as if it were his own body. "We're going into the void itself," said Ta. His voice sounded strange through the connection. "Our ship is carrying a special device. A seed." "A seed?" asked Hyun. "Yes. Life is the opposite of the void. Our scientists created a seed of pure life energy, but it must be planted in the center of the void." Hyun suddenly understood. A suicide mission. Tae's eyes met his. "Yes, but if it works, both our peoples will survive." Their small ship turned and flew directly toward the largest piece of the void. Around them, Confederation and human ships continued to fire, drawing away smaller pieces. "Ready?" asked Ta. "Ready," answered Hyun. Together, they entered the void. Inside the void, everything was darkness. Tai and Hyun could not see each other, even though they stood side by side. They could only feel the ship around them through their connected suits. "We're still here," said Tai, sounding surprised. "The ship should have been destroyed instantly." "Maybe the void is curious about us," suggested Hyun. They moved deeper into the darkness. Their screen showed nothing, but they could feel their ship continuing forward. "Releasing the seed in 10 seconds, said Ta. "Whatever happens after that, it's been an honor serving with you, Hyun." "And with you, human," replied Hyun. The seed was released. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a tiny point of light appeared in the endless dark. It grew larger and larger. "It's working," said Ta. The light expanded outward in waves. Where it touched the void, the darkness seemed to shrink back. The light didn't destroy the void. It transformed it. The darkness became something else, something neither light nor dark. "We need to get out now," said Ta. "The reaction is spreading faster than we expected." They turned their ship around, flying toward where they thought the edge would be. The light chased them, surrounding them, filling their ship. Outside the void, the fleet watched in amazement as the massive dark shape began to glow around the edges. The glow spread inward, changing the void's color from black to blue to white. "What's happening?" asked Empress Jia. "The seed is working," said Admiral Jin. "It's changing the void's nature. But Ted's ship, we've lost all contact with them." Suddenly, a small ship burst out of the transformed void. It was damaged, parts of it glowing with the same strange light, but it was intact. "This is Captain Ta," came a weak voice over the communication system. "Mission successful. Request immediate pickup. Chief Hyun is injured but alive." 3 days later, Empress Jia stood in the throne room once again. This time, it was filled with representatives from both the Confederation and humanity. Captain Tai and Security Chief Hyun stood side by side near the throne. Both had bandages on their faces and arms, but they were healing. "Today marks a new chapter in our shared history," announced Empress Jia. "The void has been transformed. Our scientists say it has become a new type of matter that may actually benefit nearby star systems rather than destroy them." She looked at Tai and Hyun. These two brave individuals risked everything to save us all. They showed us that together, we are stronger than apart. Empress Jia lifted a document for all to see. "I present the New Earth Treaty. It formally welcomes humanity back into the galactic community. It acknowledges the wrongs of the past and looks toward a shared future." The old royal historian, Dojin, stepped forward with another document. "Our investigation is complete. We have found proof that a group of Varians, fearful of human potential, did indeed cause the Great Collapse. They acted without the knowledge of the Confederation Council." The room was silent. Humans and Confederation members looked at each other. Tai spoke up. "What matters now is not who was responsible. What matters is that we learn from the past and move forward together. Young diplomat Sung stepped forward with a star map. We have updated all official maps to include New Earth and all human territories. The empty seat at our table is empty no more. Empress Jia turned to face Todd directly. On behalf of all Varians, I formally apologize for the actions of our ancestors. Can there ever be true peace between our peoples after such a wrong? Ta smiled. Humans have a saying, the best revenge is living well. We don't want revenge. We want to build something better than what was lost. He stepped forward and offered his hand in the human way of greeting. After a moment's hesitation, Empress Jia took it. The species that was thought extinct has returned, said Dojin, watching them. And perhaps they have saved us all. As the treaty was signed, a new star appeared on the great map of the Confederation. Earth was back on the map. Humanity had come home.